But in terms of the end of your father's life, you do also point out in the book that there is some suspicion of not being a natural cause of death.
There was an investigator, and I don't know, everybody knows this guy. His name is Matt Birkbeck. He investigates all celebrities when they die. First of all, there was no autopsy. I don't know how he got away with that. My mother had ovarian cancer. She had an autopsy. Even though we knew what she died from, still, you have to have an autopsy.
Right.
Okay. What happened was somebody was paid off, the doctor or somebody was paid off not to have an autopsy. Now, I'm going to bring back attention to Chip Lumar, who was married at the time, or they were separated. Matter of fact, they separated not too long after that. But Chip Lumar went on national television at Channel 4, I think it was, in Atlanta, and he started talking. He said, every bone in my body can't tell me that James Brown wasn't killed. Now, what I found out with the investigator, okay, and you can see all this stuff. You can go to his website and everything. It says, if you put in there the death of James Brown or the lynching of James Brown, you can find all these things. He said that, and I didn't even notice, that he said that my sister was there, okay, and Chip Lumar and Charles Bobbitt.
Who was Charles Bobbitt?
Charles Bobbitt was my father's manager at the time. Okay, and he used to also be a manager with Michael Jackson for about 2 years. Right? We're not even gonna get into that because he said he was fired. I found out that he wasn't fired. His job was ace because he was stealing money. They were the only two there. See, now after a while, there was a lot of people there, but they all went home. Mr. Bobbitt says that he went down to the pharmaceutical downstairs, and the pharmacy closed at 10 o'clock. Now this is after 10 o'clock. He's saying he went downstairs to get my father some Ensure. If you know Emory Hospital in Atlanta, Georgia, they'll feed your whole family. You ain't got to go nowhere. You don't have to go down there and get no Ensure or whatever. They have places where you can sleep. This is a very good hospital, Emory. And they have, so all these things that he says, it doesn't fit, okay? It doesn't fit at all. Like he says, my father had a burning sensation and, then he covered him up and all of a sudden he was gone. The doctor says that before my father, they had cleared his chest up, number one. They cleared all this stuff and everything. And I kept getting calls from this Mr. Charles Bobbitt saying, they can tell everything your father did. Now everybody knows what he did. I talk about it in the book. I don't hold no punches back, and what they was calling PCP. Well, it wasn't, it wasn't PCP. You see, but that's only, it acts as hallucinogenic. It's angel dust. They act the same. You know what I'm saying? It's formaldehyde, and he used to take like his cool cigarettes and dip them in them sometime, but he didn't get high all the time. If he did, he'd been a lunatic. You see what I'm saying? You can't smoke that stuff every day, and if you do it for a week, you coming out like a zombie. Right. So I understand the kind of drugs that you have. I mean, I told him to tell my father, I got a PhD in drugs. I went to prison for drugs, so ain't nothing you can tell me about no drugs. You know what I'm saying? So let's clear that up, that it wasn't PCP, okay? So Mr. Bobbitt claims that he went downstairs and got this Ensure, okay? But I don't know what he's got. I can't say that he got whatever, came back, and that's when all the stuff happened. It wasn't maybe about, not even a half hour later, and the doctor said he gets a code, and he's saying to him, like, because he knew my father was clear. Everything was, they were going to keep him for one more day, and we were going to do, we usually start doing Hartford, Connecticut this Monday, because I was in New Jersey at the time, and when I was in New Jersey, we had already said that we wasn't going to do Hartford. Let them rest, and we'll do B.B. King's Club, okay? So,
because they were still pushing him, driving.
The
tour schedule.
We still had the tour schedule going on.
Was quite insane.
Right. But he said when he went in to see Mr. Brown, he was laughing. He was having a good time. Everybody telling everybody to go home, be with your family, and all that. His skin appearance, like you see here, his skin appearance was, he had his color.
Yeah.
He said he came back in the room, he was gray. All of a sudden. You know, so that was no congested heart failure. That had nothing to do with congested heart failure. My thing is, he was poisoned. When Chip Lumar went on television and said that, 3 or 4 days later, he was dead.
Lumar.
He was dead.
Wow.
So, you know, it's...
Well, in terms of, I mean, whether or not the poisoning is a definitely, you know, one way of doing it, but the question is motivation. Now, I know people like Randy Quaid have come out saying, look, I believe that there's what's called celebrity whacking, right?
Yeah.
And he's said, look, I know people that I believe were killed because their managers, their lawyers, people were taking, basically, they got control, they wanted to get control of the assets, they got some stake in it, and then they changed the wills.
I can show people where they can go. They can go to starplanettv.com/straight/talk. That's Matt, the investigator, and it has it all there. You know,
StarPlanetTV.com.
Yeah, and you can get everything, man.
Yeah.
Everything you know, because he did the investigation. He said my father was poisoned.
But so the motivation would be what? Accessing to the wills, the properties. I mean, who?
Well, the
who
wills, the properties, the I Feel Good Trust, because most of the money that he was leaving was going to underprivileged children. You had to kill that trust in order for anybody to get anything. So the trust was killed. You see, automatically.
I'm sure he gave you a lot of insight into how the music industry works and how, you know, a lot of people talk about the corruption of it.
Matter of fact, it's funny that you say that because that, you know, I step lightly in that. You know, I watch out for one to be fame and fortune. You know, you pay for that. You see, and I'm that's not the person that really, you know, what I want to do is just be able to play my music, get it out. I don't care if I don't sell a million seller.
Right.
You know, I was talking to Ice-T, right? Now, you know, with his controversy with Cop Killer and all that stuff like that, right? But he says, Daryl, he says, man, he said, he said, I got my own thing. I got a nice underground crowd. I send 350 copies. That's just like selling 1 million because I get everything. I get one. So, you know, my concept of that is, you know, I want to get good music back out there again. Music that you can play with your mother and party and doing things like we used to, you know, because now it has us so separated.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
But so your father was able to break free of most of those corporate controls over his music?
Well, see, that was the reason. That was one reason why they would have, because see, let me tell you something. He, back in, I can remember, I'm gonna say 65, him and Otis Redding were getting ready to start the most biggest distribution company for black music. Well, next thing you know, Otis is dead. And Otis didn't die in no plane crash. He was beat up, okay? So was Sam Cooke. Sam Cooke was getting ready to own his own publishing. He was murdered and beat up. And they tried to say that it was a lover's quarrel and the guy came, you know, okay? So all these things my father was telling me, but the reason why they didn't kill my dad, because they figured they could make more money off of him.
Right, so long as they could make money off of you to keep you alive.
Exactly.
But at a certain point, they can also kill you and take your assets.
Yeah, you become like Barbie and Ken. Okay, you're a commodity. You're something you don't even. I always call it as the slave master coming taking his name back. You know what I'm saying? Because it seems that way. It seems like that.
Oh, right, because the slave gets the name of the master.
Exactly. Right? So here we come. We know now we own you. And see, my father never sold his name and likeness. But now we own that name. We're making money off of you. And once that name, and see, you got to understand now, he was at the highest point of his career. Okay. So there had to be some kind of shakers and movement behind that because you just don't die on Christmas Day.
Now, what do you mean he was the highest point of his career?
Oh, he was at the highest point of his career. He was at another, here we go again. You got 7 decades. My father was a millionaire 5 times. That means you got to come down and go back up 5 times. And he was at the highest point of his career. He had did many things, especially when we did the thing with Michael Jackson on BET and different things. You know, now everybody sees the legend. This is the legendary James Brown. This is who everybody's gotten everything from. You know, he changed the game of music.
No, we got a lot to talk about the music, but first I want to get back to the Michael. You mentioned Michael Jackson, and MJ obviously derived so much from your father, and he loved your father to the point that he spent an hour alone with him after he passed away.
It was 2 hours, you know, because he wanted to know. You know, he was telling me, he was dressing him and telling him the mortician how he wore his hair and this way, asking all kind of questions. That's how he ended up with the gold casket.
Your father did?
No, Michael.
Oh, Michael did.
Let me tell you something about Michael, my father's relationship. He was like, that was his dad. because everybody knows it was publicized that him and Joe they didn't get along at all. So he adopted my father.
He feared Joe,
right.
for sure.
And and he would call my father once a week. They talk every week. He never missed his birthday either. Now, I might have even missed his birthday, but Michael Jackson never missed his birthday. Mm-hmm. He was so close to my father till, everything he did was because of what my father taught him. Mm-hmm. To the last time he came out, he was talking about Sony and different things, He called my dad before that. Because both of them had talked about getting out. Now, whatever that is, getting out. They were tired of it,
And you think this goes back to the ownership of
exactly,
the brand,
exactly. The crossroads, the selling of your soul, all kind of things that happens. When you look at the industry today, it's very demonic, the way they place things. It just doesn't make any sense. Mm-hmm. You look at rap music, okay, and I've always said rap music is a genocide against our children, okay? Because if you look at rap music hasn't done anything positive to bring people together.
Well, definitely relative to the last 20 years.
Exactly. Yeah. And see, the music that we know of, from rock, from who can I think of? Crawford and Nash. What was those guys' name?
Crosby, Stills, and Nash.
If you listen to the music, it was always about love. Mm-hmm. When was the last time you heard a love song?
On the radio? Katy Perry's music and Lady Gaga's music doesn't count?
Because that doesn't work for that. You see, their whole purpose is you are owned. You have something. They give you two options. They give you, at one time, okay, you had Jay-Z, okay, and you had P. Diddy on both sides. Yeah. If you didn't go to P. Diddy, you had to go to Jay-Z to come in. Mm-hmm. Every time something happened with the rappers, who do they go talk to? Jay-Z. Mm-hmm. You see. So it's a thing of where, and they promote, the way they promote rap now, this gangster rap and everything, what good is that doing for our children? When we were slaves, we didn't come up thinking about a slave master. We uplifted people. We talk about getting out of there. Mm-hmm. Here they talking about staying there. Mm-hmm. You see, it's a difference. And it's like I told her, I said, rap music was a genocide against our children. Now, I worked with Curtis Blow. Okay, he was one of the first ones I ever worked with. Starsky Love Bug. Mm-hmm. Okay, and I seen something coming in then. This was like in 1985 when I was with Soho Production. I seen something happening, and I didn't want to be a part of that. You see, because at the point where they were and this is one reason why Curtis Blow left Def Jam, because of that. Because he said, man, they wanted us to do so much vulgar stuff that it wasn't even funny.
Right. They were pushing it. Yeah.
Exactly. So you look at rap music and you look at how long it stayed, but it doesn't have the support that it needs. Mm-hmm. So who would you get the support? You have your children. You see, you have them. And I tell everybody, I said, that's what it was. It was a genocide against it. If you push something in somebody's head long enough, they're going to like it.
Of course.
Because that's all they're getting.
Exactly.
You see, they're not getting the music that we used to get, like Marvin Gaye's and people that had messages, Gil Scott-Heron. We're not getting those songs anymore, okay? Now we're getting a song talking about, I'm taking you home, screw you, and then saying, I don't want you to meet my mother. You know what I'm saying? I just want to screw you.
Yeah.
There it is,
If it's even that literate, to be honest. I think
now,
we're at the point
and
where
I
there's
tell you
not
truth, Tupac, I love Tupac, and I'm going to tell you why. Mm-hmm. What Tupac did was, he touched on being a thug. But what he did was he turned being a thug around. Mm-hmm. Okay? And it was a reason for that. You see, because you thought of us black men as thugs. If we didn't have you thought of us as thugs. Every time a black man's on the corner and we're congregating, we're just talking, that's a gang. Mm-hmm. You see, but if you take your whites and they're talking, that's a club.
But Tupac was very clearly coming from Mutulu Shakur's trajectory of how do we actually use hip hop as an organizational tool.
Organization.
Going back to the Black
Panthers.
And I
love, that was my man.
Yeah.
That was my man.
But then you think about why he was taken out exercise from this from the game, because people like your father and Jackson understood it. It's like you cannot go against that structure and hope to survive unless you're completely underground.
Exactly. See, that's why God gave us one mouth, two ears. We need to listen more than what we talk about. You see what I'm saying? We want to pray, but that's not the answer. It's visualization. Meditation and visualization. Mm-hmm. He understood that. Mm-hmm. You see, and he always went with his first mind.
Right.
And we say that's God's mind. He never second guessed himself, and that's what made him so famous.
Yeah,
he never second guessed. He went with it. What you told him he couldn't do, he'll do it.
Right.
Just because you told him he couldn't do it, that's how he was.
Exactly. That thing about selling the souls. So you don't think your father sold his soul? Or was
I do.
In a certain sense.
He told me, a certain time, But his concept was, well, God made the devil. So and sooner or later, the devil gonna go back to God anyway, and he was right about that.
That's true.
That's true.
But what was the deal? Like, what did he say was the deal?
He just said he went to the crossroads. That's it. He said, "Don't go to." He said, "Don't do that." He said, "Whatever you do, stay off the."
So
because he paid dear. Yeah, because it was such a fight. Because by this time, I tell you a good thing to watch is that BMW commercial.
Was it hit? He was in?
He was in his BMW with the little car and everything. It's called Racing with the Devil.
Oh, really?
If you ever see it, it's on YouTube. And it tells you a lot.
Well, I'll tell you. Do you think? I mean, from looking at a lot of these things that occur when there's someone who attains a level of fame and then all of a sudden someone very close to them is taken. Do you think that Teddy's death was a consequence of that deal?
Yeah.
And he knew it.
Yeah, he knew it. And that to me we all were close. Teddy and I went to private school together in Fort Lauderdale, Florida, and I moved with my father when I was 9 years old. And it was really hard for me because I had lived with my father up until 1972. Then I went back to New Jersey, and I remember my mother called me and told me, she said, "Daryl," she said, "Teddy called me, and he was going to come and get you, but only," he said he forgot. He said, "But Dad," he said, "this was on a Thursday or something." He said, "You got to go to school." So he said, "Well, what I do is when I come back down, can I pick him up and stay with me a couple of days?" She said, "Sure." So he never made it. So me and Teddy were very close.
And he was murdered. He had just died in a car.
No, he didn't just die.
In the film, they portray it like he just died in a car accident.
Yeah, well, that's Hollywood. But he didn't die in a car. He was actually shot, gangland style. They seem to think that he's seen his cousin and another friend of theirs get shot first. He seen that first, and they shot him. So my father seemed to think that it was Ku Klux Klan because they had white women in the car. One of his girlfriends, she's from upstate New York. I forget where she was from.
So basically, Teddy and his, who was it? You said cousins?
Cousin. One was his cousin, and one was a friend of theirs from Toccoa, Georgia.
So 3 black guys.
Yeah,
with white women. But this is in Canada, in the 80s.
Yeah, and this is on the. They were going to Toronto. Mm. They were on their way to Toronto, and that's when that happened. I tend to think my theory was sacrifice.
Yeah. And we've seen it before. A lot of people's sons, firstborn sons especially.
So, if you look at things, we call it looking at it with your third eye.
Correct.
Your mind's eye. Because what they're going to create for you is an illusion with your 2 eyes. Mm-hmm. But if you look at it with your mind eyes, you'll see a lot of things, man. Mm-hmm. And that's what my spiritual advisor always teaches me about my third eye. When I'm looking at everything I do, focus on it with your third eye.
Maybe this is a sensitive question, but did you ever try to contact your father or communicate with him after he passed?
My father came to me a few times. One time we was in the Rolls Royce that he had. He had a 1978 Rolls Royce, and he always has blue on. Now, in the dream world, the spiritual world, you don't move your lips. Mm-hmm. You just communicate. Yeah, you communicate. And he was just laughing at me, telling me, "Now you got it now. Now you see what I'm going. I used to go through." And he was just happy because he was happy where he was. Mm-hmm. It is funny too, because if you see people and there are many people out here that talk to the other side. okay? And you never hear them say, tell everybody I'm okay and tell it wasn't their fault and everything, and I miss you, or I can't wait to come back. You know, they always just let everybody know I'm okay. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And I don't want to come back. You know, seriously. I mean, you look at everybody, they never want to come back.
Right.
But they want everybody to know that they're okay. They didn't blame them for nothing, all that stuff like that. And I'll see you when you get here, because I'm not coming back. You know, and that's real, man. That's real.
Yeah.
You know, and I'm very sensitive to the spiritual world.
Yeah.
And things that go on. Yeah.
So you think he's outgrown the idea of coming back to that body?
Well, you know, sometimes now, and that's funny too, because sometimes, you know, well, the idea of coming back to the body is not, because what happens is you don't lose that much. The body is physical. Spirituality is a whole other thing. That's the real you.
Yeah.
You see what I'm saying? That's the person that lights that body up to 98 degrees, that light that shineth within. Mm-hmm. That's the real you, you see. And he knew that. So he don't want to know, because sometimes you got a lot of spirits, they want to come back. They want to come back, and it's sad. They want to get right back in that body, even if maggots are crawling on it.
Right.
You know, but not me. I don't think I want to. I'm no part of that. But no, I wouldn't think that.
Yeah.
Because he's still James Brown wherever he's at.
Absolutely.
He's still doing the thing.
The one and only.
Still doing his thing, man. And see, many times through my journeys, he knows what I'm doing. It's funny because I wrote that book. He had told me about that book. He said, son, I know you're going to write a book. He said, but do it when I'm gone. He said, because your book going to be better than mine. You know, and that's what I did. You know, that's what I did. Absolutely. You know, because he knew I was going to tell the truth, because you can't tell half the truth. It's not the truth. Yeah. You know, and I struggle with that now.
And I feel like you got more to say and more to do as a musician and a poet.
I have, yeah.
You got a lot ahead of you.
I have a lot, man. So. My job is not done.